Hi, this is Joe again with another review. And previously, I had done a review of the 1986 video called An Amazing Hour, which is of course based on the history of the New York Mets through the first, really for the first 24 years, going into the 25th season. So I'm going to do another video documentary on a baseball team, and particularly one of the most beloved baseball team. Excuse me. One of the more beloved baseball teams in baseball history, the Brooklyn Dodgers. And of course, the documentary, or the VHS documentary, is, of course, The Boys of Summer, which, of course, is based on the famous Roger Kahn book of the same name. The original book that this is based on came out way back in 1972, I believe, and the video production came out in 11 years later, 1983, at the start of the home video, or VHS, versions. When VCRs was coming out. That's if you remember what VCR was. With this video, for some reason, Roger Kahn is not in this production at all. The guy who wrote the original book. It is hosted by Sid Caesar, who since passed away last year. And in 2014, he hosted this thing. And with this documentary, it is a pretty long documentary for a sports documentary. It's an hour and a half long. What this documentary is supposed to be about actually, of course, the Brooklyn Dodgers from 47 to 57. And of course, 1957 was the last year of the Brooklyn Dodgers before they moved to LA and became known as the LA Dodgers. It also explains how the Dodgers got their name. How the Dodgers got the name was that in Brooklyn, when the Dodgers played, the most popular way to get around Brooklyn was through the trolley course. And for you to survive in Brooklyn, you had to survive or dodge the trolley course. And that's how they got their name. And it also explains how the war affected the Dodgers, that the Dodgers won the pennant in 1941. And then after the war, that's when everything started to change, not only the luck of the Brooklyn Dodgers, but also baseball altogether. Because that was when the Dodgers signed Jackie Robinson in 1946. And of course everything, for the 1946 season for the Montreal Royals, which were the Dodgers' top 4 team at the time. And that's when, of course, everything started to change. And, of course, this documentary is definitely one of the better documentaries. And like I said, on this thing, it does have a feature. The reason why it's as long as it is, it's because it has a feature on 8 players who are still alive at the time this production was made. And the 8 players were, at the time, it was Hall of Famer Duke Snider, soon to be Hall of Famer Pee-wee Reese. You notice how old this documentary is, that Pee-wee Reese was not in the Hall of Fame yet. He got elected the very next year, 1984. So he wasn't even in the Hall of Fame yet when this documentary was made. Roy Campanella, who was in the Hall of Fame, was made the Hall of Fame catcher. He had Carl Erskine, on pitchers, Carl Erskine, Sam Labine, Joe Black, Preacher Rowe, of course, also has right fielder Carl Furillo, and plus features on first baseman Gil Hodges, who should be in the Hall, who got screwed again this year for the Hall of Fame. Billy Cox was the third baseman, and of course, you can't do a documentary in Brooklyn Dodgers, but he's doing this time 47 to 57 without having a feature on Jackie Robinson. But the only one who is, unfortunately, is still alive, who appears in this documentary, is Preacher Rowe, unfortunately. I mean not Preacher Rowe, Carl Erskine. Excuse me, he's the only one. Carl Erskine is the only one who's still alive, who's on this documentary. Everyone else has died since this thing came out. The first one who died was Carl Furillo, and he had leukemia as well. And then followed by Campanella. Then you had Preacher Roll, then you had PVV, something like that. Preacher Roll, Clem Labine, and the last one who died on this thing was Duke Snyder. And now the last one who's really going to die is Preacher Roll, not Preacher Roll, Carl Erskine, because he's the last one still alive. So he is technically the last one that's going to die from this video. And they go through to have a feature on each one of these 8 players, and they do show what they were doing at the time the documentary was made. And of course, at that time, Duke Snyder was an announcer for the Montreal Expos. You had Carl Erskine was working in a bank. You had Carl Fuller was working as a night watchman. And the reason why none of these players had jobs long after their playing careers ended was because they didn't have a good pension. They weren't unionized at the time. The baseball players weren't unionized. And also, they didn't make the millions of dollars like ball players do today. They made, maybe, I think the highest paid player was maybe Jackie Robinson was maybe the highest paid player. He made like $16,000 a year. I mean, it really goes to show you how much the money has exploded since Jackie Robinson retired, I think in 1956, and show you how much money they spent. But like I said, it is a good document. I don't even know if this thing is I don't even think this documentary is even on DVD anywhere. It is really hard to find. And around the time that we had got the video, my father belonged to the Columbia House VHS or home video club at the time, and he saw this advertised and ordered it. And he saw it advertised maybe 1 or 2 other times, and then that's it. I mean, we never seen it advertised, not even on DVD. And so I don't even know if it's. I don't think this is even on YouTube. I mean, I'm going to show you how weird this thing is. That this documentary is not even on YouTube. I'm going to show you how rare of a find this documentary is. I'm sure the other baseball documentaries, to one time or another, was transferred over to DVD. And they saw the bigger names. Bigger name documentaries now, almost to a team or whatever, is on DVD now. Even the Baseball Hall of Fame, when they make a video on the baseball, the Hall of Fame ceremonies, that's on DVD now. And for a long time, they didn't even put it out on video. But like I said, on this documentary, it is very good. It shows you all the players, especially with Roy Campanella. That's one of the more better sections. It was with Campanella and how he got into his accident, how he became paralyzed, and how when Carl Erskine talked about Campanella, he got all emotional over it and all choked up over it, because don't forget, Campanella caught everybody, caught the whole pitching staff, and he caught everybody for 10 years for the most part. In some cases, about 10 years, about the length of his whole major league career. So suddenly lose your catcher, and that won't be on the team anymore, and not because he had to retire because he retired because he was paralyzed. He couldn't even play anymore. But to lose a catcher, especially losing the way they lost him in a car accident, it was very emotional for him. 25 years late after the fact. But one thing I did like is how Sid Caesar was in different parts of Brooklyn. Like it was in Prospect Park, before the Jackie Robinson Intermediate School. But he was also in Corleone in the beginning and in the end of the documentary. But one thing he didn't go to, or he didn't show, was where Ebbets Field was. Because Ebbets Field now is an apartment complex. They get inner city housing complex now, the site of Ebbets Field. And the biggest joke is when you go to the Ebbets Field, you see a sign that says no ball playing, which is a complete joke. Well, I know I'm going a little bit short on this thing, but this is my. If any of you happen to get a copy of this, it's really one of the best baseball documentaries that you could even have in your collection. With the reason why I never read the book is that the problem I have with Roger Kahn is that he jumps around all over the place. So that's why I couldn't even get into the book, because he jumps around all over the place. At least in the documentary version, at least it was consistent throughout the whole thing. It didn't jump around. Sure, you could argue it went from one plane to the other, uh, but I do enjoy watching this documentary from time to time, especially listening to the bit with Preacher Rowe, because Preacher Rowe was a pitcher that he was the Gaylord Perry of the 40s and the 50s. Remember that Preacher Rowe used to use a spitball. And during the feature with Preacher Rowe, he does explain how he would throw his spitball and how he would get away with it sometimes. And even Mike Caponata says I never had a signal for the spitball. But I always knew when Preacher would wet one. And then it goes into the scene where Preacher Rowe explains how he would roll up the ball. I think if Gaylord Perry would do a documentary today, I think he would do the same thing, and how he would get away with throwing his spitballs. But and also will show with Joe Black and how he got messed up in his pitching career, and along with Clem Levine, and along with Carl Furillo, and showing how they got through with their careers and then the post-career lives. And so that's my review of what The Boys of Summer. Like I said, you're really missing out if you don't have this video in your DVD collection. Please rate the video, feel free to comment on it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. Thanks for watching, catch you next time, and please also watch my other videos as well. Catch you next time.